2 months ago, I thought to myself, it's been so long since I saw Sasha and Bobby and the whole community. And I remember that place in Santa Cruz, it was so beautiful. I want to go back there. I just had that feeling. And about a few weeks later, I got your invitation, and I forgot that you lived here. I didn't know where I was coming to tonight. I almost couldn't make it, and I showed up here, and I was like, this is the place. This is where I was that night so many years ago that I loved and wanted to come back to. And because of you, we're back here together. So thank you for the network that you created and having me be part of it.
Thank you, Sky.
Sky, thank you so much for speaking spontaneously like that. My little pre-planned, controlled idea of having sessions for Bobby's stories organically and spontaneously is much better. And so, if the Spirit moves you, please come up as you feel the Spirit. So, Sasha, thank you. Huge thank also to Mihai. Would you like to say something? Yes, please.
All right.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm Jan. And
French teacher pal.
yes. And as I was leaving our book club on whatever day it was, I'm too old to remember. I said to, I'm so looking forward to seeing Bobby come out of his shell. And she said, he's never been in a shell. So the Bobby I knew was, when I've been a few times to Katya's house, he's always been quiet and withdrawn, and it's like, boy, he's so different from Katya. So I'm so happy to see that you have this huge shell and that you have a wonderful life behind you and the life in front of you at 70, because I'm a lot longer. Take care.
I'm living in Berkeley in actually, late 80s, and some gal comes to rent a room for me because I got an extra room, and we stayed in touch after she didn't take the room, and I invited her and her 2 new roommates to come to a football game at Cal, and it was at the Campanile. Bob walked up with his 2 roommates, the woman I'd met, and their mutual roommate. Later that night after the Cal game, we went back to Bob's place, or their place, and Bob played the Peter Gabriel Red Rain album. And we drank herbal tea, laid on a hardwood floor, and kind of held hands in a circle. And my heart was opened. And a few months later, it was New Year's Eve of 1989, and we run into each other at a party in halfway to Emeryville down San Pablo Avenue, and Bob said, there's this awesome party in the Berkeley Hills. We gotta get up there and see it. Do you want to come with? So the 3 people I was with joined the 3 people he was with. And 6 of us got into a car built for 5. As we drove up the hill, let's see. We drove up the hill, got the party, wasn't very good. Bob said, I know another party that's really good. Because he knows people. He knows people around the world, he knows people in that community especially. As it happened, when it became midnight, we were between parties. There was traffic. And Bob reached back over his shoulder like this to me in the back seat. And I grabbed his hand and he turned his head and I looked at him. And we just had a moment. It was New Year. It was the moment of New Year's in 1989. And we've been close ever since. I almost went to college with Bob. I went to college with people who went to college with Bob. We have mutual friends. Here's to the Pi, Sigma Pi. Bob was a member of Sigma Pi. Peter's a member of Sigma Pi. Pete McNally. Have you spoken yet, Pete?
Not yet.
This might be your cue. So, happy birthday to you, Bob. Dr. Bob, a nutritionist. He's got the mind of a scientist and the heart of a philosopher. I love you.
In our last season, there were like 5 players on this entire team that were bored.
Is going on?
More celebration, and we'll talk about Detroit as we continue here on Big Four Blues.
All right.
I've known Bobby back since the day of the pie, 42 years ago.
What's the Pi, Pete?
And the Pi is Sigma Pi fraternity over at on Waring Street, Cal, they're still there, hanging on by the strings just like they were back then. We were a house of very eclectic individuals, ranging from nerds to jocks, and a few stoners in between. Kind of tend towards the latter.
Sounds healthy.
Yay, sounds healthy.
Bobby would also give us advice, about how to work it with the women. He was a ladies' man.
He was. Still is.
Bobby, we love you. And to the day, Bobby's been a great friend, and so has offered me and my family kind words of wisdom, feeling, and love.
Always.
Yay, Bobby.
Bobby is a 1 in 8 billion human being. Singular, generous in spirit, very wise and compassionate and deep, and just a connector of a lot of different fields. A lot of interesting people come through and connect because of Bobby, and he's one of my dearest friends. And there's a lot of stories I could tell that could go on, but I'm going to keep it brief to protect the innocent and the guilty. And, I'll just say he is 1 in 8 billion people. I just want you to remember that.
8 billion.
8 billion. 1 in 8 billion.
You got one good story for us, right? Tell us one story.
We have other people.
It's okay, there's more people.
Yeah, look, I just, it's better left unsaid.
Thank you.
Okay, here's my part. So, and did we thank everyone we needed to thank?
Let's do that.
Let's
thank everyone.
Thank everyone, yes. And thank you all for making, especially you coming from far and making the trek. We're so happy, and it's been so nice to reconnect with people that we haven't seen in a long time. Yay. Okay, so a lot of you know that Bobby and I are of Reconnect story from 44 years ago, and that he actually married my ex-husband and me 32 years ago. And we were together for 20 years. But
He was the minister.
He was the minister.
he was,
He didn't marry
he was the
Bob's a universal life minister.
a universal life minister. He officiated our wedding ceremony, and we were together 20 years ago. But that's not the story I'm telling tonight.
What story are you telling,
That's not the story I'm telling tonight, because there's a lot of ins and outs to that saga. And
I bet.
it's quite long and involved. It's a story for another time.
She said ins and outs.
So in any case, I'm just
She did.
very happy that I appeared to him in a dream that he had 50 years ago, 6 years before we actually connected for the very first time. Back when he was 20 years old in 1975, and because that's the reason that 6 years later, when we did meet for the first time. Thank you, son. Did you get the wedding? The wedding, yeah, the wedding picture.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very happy that I appeared to him in that dream, and then we reconnected 17 years ago. So that's a lot of years and a lot of dates and a lot of history. And yeah, so when we first reconnected back in 2008, he, as Mihai said, he introduced me to this magical new world of and this wonderful new tribe of people that was really a revelation to me, and that inspired me in so many ways, and really, yeah, just inspired me and was rather transformational. And that's how I got to know many of you in this room. And in the beginning, thank you, Greg and Moni. In the beginning, he took me to these heartless gatherings.
Yes. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. We love you so much. You changed our lives.
Heartless gatherings.
Heart bliss.
Heartless gatherings at the mothership in the mountains outside of Hillsburg, and you know we were just so happy and grateful for those. They weren't just weekends; they were they turned into full week events. But they're communing over music and art and creativity and dance and poetry and
the food.
and you know opening our hearts and being authentic, and it was really wow. This is a complete new world for me. And then he took me down and to meet the Santa Cruz tribe, and was further inspired and further you know making these amazing connections. And took me up to Potter Valley a couple times too. And all of these new connections really opened my mind and my eyes and especially my heart and to new ways of thinking and being and seeing. And and then I slowly introduced him to my wonderful tribe of friends, a few contingents of which are here tonight. I have my little group of French teacher pals, and we go back a long way, and we share a love of French language literature and travel. We've traveled a lot, and Michelle is here, and Jan is here, and Kevin was here, and then I have my more recent surfer pal crew, because I took up surfing late in life, in my mid-50s, and thank you so much, Natanya and Misha and G and Judy, who are here. And they've come to know and love Bobby too. So we are all so incredibly lucky, as Mihai said, and maybe other people might speak to these amazing qualities that Bobby has. He is the most gentle, kind, patient, generous, humble, and interesting. For sure. Interesting people I know, and can you tell I don't like speaking in front of crowds. I was a high school teacher for 38 years, but you guys are adults.
Speak for yourself.
So really his patience and his generosity know no bounds. Whether really, I mean truly, whether it is IT support or equipment repair for friends or just finding the best possible hack or the best possible solution for any problem. It is like, it always astonished me so much how he, frustration is not in his emotional repertoire. He is never, and I just finally, learned over time that it is not even the solving the problem. It is he is in his happy place when he is solving the problem. It's the process. I mean, that is what activates and motivates him, and it's such a amazing model for me, who is frustration intolerant and patience intolerant. It is such an amazing. He is the most amazing teacher that I have ever met. He's the most amazing teacher.
On so many subjects too.
Knows
a lot about everything.
Yeah.
Very worldly.
So also, we also know that he is in his happy place when he's sharing important, interesting, and valuable information with others, and we are so incredibly grateful to Al and Son for creating the amazing Dr. Future show and for giving Bobby a platform for the last 5 years.
Our pleasure. It's our pleasure.
You guys are endlessly inspiring to me. I love you so much. So his voice Is there anything like Bobby's voice?
Well, can we hear?
Let's have a sample.
It's the voice, seriously, that resets your nervous system and your vagus nerve like in 2 seconds. Right?
Let's hear it.
And
Let's hear it.
so speaking of the podcast, like, I mean, thank you for giving his voice the platform that it deserves, because his voice is amazing. So, and yeah, and there's definitely a reason that that I need that grounding force, because I think we're a good yin yang. I am beyond grateful to have you in my life, Bobby, and to call you my partner. There is never a dull moment with you. I learn amazing new things every single day. You guys get it a little bit, but I get it every single day. We are just continually in ever-present awe and wonder at the beauty of this world and this life, and I'm so happy to share it with you. And you know what? In a shout out to embracing the dark too, you know, the light and the dark. We've had definitely, as all relationships do, we've had our challenge and difficulties, and so just in the spirit of embracing that, the light and the dark, I am so grateful that we have learned with more, you know, grace and skill and patience to navigate those difficulties, and I'm so grateful that we've come through to the other side.
Love you both. Who's next?
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Wow.
I just have a quick story, and it's going to be an origin story. How I met Bobby. I met Bobby in 1990, might have been 1989, I think it was 1990, at a nightclub in San Francisco. And Bobby was there to check out the virtual reality at the time, so virtual reality round 1. Actually met Bobby and his roommate at the time. And I ended up dating the roommate for a few months. But I stuck with Bobby for a few decades.
Stop the story right there.
Bobby is a keeper. He's awesome. I just echo everything everyone said. He's kind, patient, he's awesome. He's a keeper.
Thank you for all coming here. It's better than I could have ever expected to have all my friends here. I really love you all. And hopefully I can take you to another level, another journey. I think we're all going to transcend here pretty soon. So just come with me. Take you on
I'm with you, brother.
Yeah, we're going into the 5th dimension.
What better, you know, trip guide than Bobby? 5th or 6th.
I just heard this new term that a lot of longevity experts are talking about. They call it hitting escape velocity. And so what it means is if you can get to the year of age of 150, then you achieve escape velocity, which means that
You just need to reach out to
It's a vortex.
you become immortal. So I'm almost halfway there. So what I want all of us to get there together. Thank you. I just want everybody to have a good time and enjoy themselves and love themselves.
Thank you.
If there are no further stories.
One more story.
All right.
Well,
Yes.
The gifts.
Is that
available over the counter?
So this one time I was putting on an event up at my place, and so Bobby had been to a few of these things before, I think, and I noticed that he was always had his camera around, like photographing what was happening, and recording the event, and I had my little camcorder thing, and this was, I think iPhones had come out, but if they had video yet, they were crap. So this was like, he had a nice camera, I had a decent camcorder. Alan's son, I know, joined in eventually in the scene, and if anybody else was. Anyway, we eventually became the AV department for this series of parties. And we called it the AV department. And I set up a specific tent that was just the AV tent with, and I had ridiculous amounts of gear that we couldn't possibly use. But I'm like, we just might need that. We might need this hook thing that'll mount the tripod and mount the camera on the back and everything. And so I think by like 2010, we were going all out AV department, and we had at least 4 camcorders on the main stage at any one time, and at least 3 others that were roaming camcorders. And Bobby, I remember you mounting the one that would face the stage from the front. Yeah. And it was like this big long thing that came down.
It was a boom.
It was the boom. We basically made the boom thing. And the thing I really remember is that those things had these big fat batteries, but they ran down every like 90 minutes or 120 minutes. And there were no electrical outlets to connect them to. So you were the guy who was out there at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 7 in the morning for the next day, swapping them out as fast as you can, because there are so many of them, and they were all. So anyway, thank you for being my partner in craziness for the AV department for some of those things.
I know which story I want to tell. The way I met Bobby. I would be remiss if I didn't tell this story. He was sent to corral me because I was living in LA at the time and came up here to help kind of co-produce a CD release party for a friend where we were at CyberLab 7. And I should mention, of course, the strange attractor that brought many of us together, of course, Dan Mapes.
Raise your hand if you're here from CyberLab 7.
There we go. We got some CyberLab 7 people. Dan, I called Dan the Miles Davis of multimedia because he really brought a lot of talented people together. And anyway, I'll change the names to protect the innocent and the guilty, and just say that he corralled me, and we became the best of friends, and it changed my life. And thank you, Dan, wherever you are. Wherever you are, Dan, you're here in spirit. And yeah, I mean, we've all become, I think, lifelong friends. And part of it is just that openness to creativity and to technology and to consciousness through both technology and creativity, expanded, infinite. And yeah, thank you. I'm a relatively new friend, and we've kind of bonded in the level of nutrition and health. And so we came over for lunch. And what was lunch? Well, first it was this substance, and then it was that substance, and then it was a little bit of methylene blue. And each bit of lunch was full of information and a story, and when I say story, I mean like rooted in science, but we ran out of time, and we just never got to the food.
You know, I don't really exactly know when to focus in, because I just feel like Bobby has been a part of my life for such a long time. But he was at CyberLab 7, and I just really barely have a fleeting memory of you from those days. But you appeared in our life again many years later at some probably rave or some event, and you let us know that you had those missing tapes from those days of working with Billy Idol and doing some of the Messiah 2 videos. And
Tim Leary stuff.
the Tim Leary, oh yes, the bonus tribe with Tim Leary, tapes that had disappeared from our lives, even though we probably shot them. And, we were in them, and they were part of the documentation of this mystical journey, and it just always has amazed me at the magic touch that you bring to all of these chaotic gatherings that we've all been a part of in this community of genius and evolutionary agents all these years. And what a loving, calming, wise spirit you have always brought to those of us lucky enough to know you.
Yeah.
I just appreciate you so much.
Thank you. That is I just.
So if I can say something really quick about that. It was 2003 or 4. I had been in the country for like 2-3 years, originally from Tibet, my parents, and I was born in India. So I'd come to America to study at UC Berkeley. And it was in India that I met Sasha, so that's another story. It was through me that Sasha met Bobby. So on this day, 2003 or 4, I was almost being kicked out by my roommate, so I needed a place to stay. And I was walking on Channing Way, and then I saw this guy. Immediately in my head, I thought, oh, he looks like a kind guy. So I asked him, excuse me, do you know if there's a place anybody's going to rent here? And he said, you know what, actually, you can take my place. I'm planning to move back to my mom's house. And I'm like, where's your mom's house? Oh, right here, right across the room. Channing Way apartment C, right? And so right like that, Bobby gave me his place. And I'm like, how's this possible? So I got a roof over my shoulder, and I got a roof over my head. And since then, Bobby, that speaks to his generosity of heart, right? He's the kindest guy I know. It is to my bad, misfortune that I haven't kept touch with him in the last 15 years, just like with Sasha as well. We haven't met a lot, but so thank you so much, Bobby. I appreciate that. And then maybe after 10-15 years of being in that apartment, I finally managed to get a place of my own. And I'm sure the 10,000 or whatever dollars, how much money that the landlord gave me helped a lot, right? So that was also because of you, if you think about it. But what I remember is Bobby was so kind, he had time for everybody. So we, in this building, we had this Pakistani family, this Indian family, and me as a Tibetan guy, all having computer issues all day long. Right? Bobby was everybody's go-to IT guy. And sometimes you had to kind of argue with your Pakistani neighbor, why are you taking so much of his time when I need him? And Bobby would give his time, really, he would set up from the cables to internet to everything. So yeah, thank you.
Like it's self-certified. Yeah, sure. Happy birthday, Bobby.
Yes, happy birthday.
Somebody I've known 35 years, the last 5 years have been really the most amazing, I think, in our connection. When Son and I were doing a talk radio show on KSCO here and locally, and COVID hit, and suddenly radio became even more of a big deal because people were at home and sitting around and listening to podcasts and such, and there we were. And so Bobby checked in. He had a lot of alternative information about the whole COVID crisis and ways of thinking about the vaccines and all that were not really mainstream. And what was interesting was that the net, you couldn't talk about a lot of these alternative things. Facebook would immediately take you off if you mentioned, quercetin or even COVID-19. You couldn't even put that in your title of any post on Facebook for a while. But AM and FM radio, we could say whatever we wanted. And Bobby was able to get out a lot of valuable information to our audience in very short order. And it was so successful, and we had so much fun doing it, that 5 years later now, Bobby is still on every week with us.
Our science correspondent.
Yeah. Some amazing stories. And if you have a chance to talk to him later, ask him about microtubules and consciousness. It was a fun conversation. So thank you, Bobby, for being in my life and having such a great collection of friends, and many of whom I'm meeting for the first time here today. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
Jeffrey.
Okay. So when I first met Bobby, I got a call.
Step
forward.
Step up to the
Step
mic
up.
for the
You
recording.
can't hear me?
The Zoom
I can hear me.
audience. We need the Zoom audience.
All right, hello Zoom audience. Anyway, back to Bobby, and but I got a call from another friend before I met Bobby who invited me to Burning Man. That was Arbor. And he says, hey, do you want to go to Burning Man? I have a free ticket and a ride, but you have to be ready in 3 hours. And I said, yes.
3 hours.
And so Arbor like takes me to this place, and I get to meet all these incredible people. And one of the first people he says, you gotta meet Bobby, because I was telling him about this California drone thing that was happening. It was some kind of strange UFO thing that was going on, and there was all this, it was a PSYOPs, ended up to be a PSYOPs operation, but at that time I was just like really excited about it, and also a lot of other things. And Arbor said, you gotta meet Bobby, he's the perfect, he would love to talk to you. And I remember meeting you the first time, and I started talking about this, and you were like so open about it. And then we started talking about, you know, we talked about free energy, and I talked about the Searle engine, and you talked about this, and it was like, I found my soulmate. It was like this, like, who is this guy, you know? And I was just so enamored with this amazing person, and our dear friend, up in Potter Valley,
Xavier.
bless his heart, you know. Bobby was doing a lot of stuff with Xavier on his property, helped him get his generator going. He was doing all kinds of really cool things, and I got introduced to Sun and Al for the first time, and we didn't really get to know each other till later, but that's when I first met you, was like about 16, 17 years ago. And Bobby, anyway, Bobby and I fell in love with him instantly, and we had such a good time on the night of the burn, and we had some psychedelics.
No.
And we had both, I forget what, it doesn't matter. But what I remember is we spent the entire night together walking around in like one of the most blissful, beautiful experiences I ever had. And since then, I went to Burning Man a couple other times with him, and he introduced me to more great people, including Greg and Heart Bliss, and all these different things. Bobby has been a source of, I'm a huge supplement nutritionist guy myself now because of Bobby. And Bobby has opened up his mind and his heart and his soul to me and everybody around. And I just remember when he was making a move, I wanted to help him so much, and not just because of what he did for me, but how much he does for everybody. And I was like, I can't give enough back to this beautiful soul, Bobby. We love you, Bobby.
It's not a very vivid one for me, but I met you, Bobby, at the Science and Non-Duality Conference, I believe 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And also at Science of Consciousness in Tucson, right? The communities overlap, and I know you love Stuart Hemmerhoff's work, tubules. So you've been in my life as this icon or this archetype. This loving figure who always is happy to see me. At these, when I'm at these public events and I meet people I haven't seen in a while, and you're always a smiling face. And I just have a chain of memories over the years that I can't pinpoint, that you've just been in my life in those circumstances. And I love it.
Sky Nelson has written a book called Synchronicity.
Living in flow.
Living in flow. And it's, you know, I realized that my life is part of that, and listening to you.
Part of my experience.
And, yes, and so it's all part of to be together. Where you know.
We're part of a recurring pattern of love in my life.
It's
And
quantum entanglement.
You guys are an example of it right in front of us.
And we're all experiencing it together
That's evolution.
all the time with each other, and so
That's evolution.
you know, I think we both model that, and you certainly model that with me in my life. So thank you, Bobby.
Yes, thank you, Scott.
I want to say, oh, Bobby.
Sasha.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Bobby. Oh my goodness. So much. Where's Top 10?
Top 10!
Top 10, yeah. So I met Bobby through Top 10 so many years ago, and so it just, yeah, it's so precious. Second everything, you know, that everyone said. I mean, Bobby is like just this magical combination of so many different archetypal, you know, people like Dr. Mercola and Henry Dakin, I think, were the two. And actually, like, most joyful moments are like staying with Katya and Bobby and I were up till like 5:30 in the morning, getting deep into, you know, Apple hardware and AI and programming. And then we'd sleep for some hours, and Katya was probably off surfing. And then we'd have a liter of water, and Bobby's like instructing me on all these different supplements. I'm putting together this little spreadsheet, and he's got this handful of supplements to take with water before breakfast. And then we'd finish it off with some methylene blue. And an hour later, have some food. And then the big part of the Henry Dakin part is just the most, you know.
I was there.
Donna, yeah. I was there.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too, 20.
Let's love Henry, of course.
Yes.
Send over
Yeah,
Henry.
another one of our great
And so it's
entertainers.
just the just totally big-hearted caring for like helping people.
Into the microphone.
Oh, okay. Helping people problem solve and helping people troubleshoot. And so, happy birthday, Bobby. We love you so much.
I just want to say happy birthday, Bobby. I've known you probably not as long as many of you. I mean, you being in your seventh decade is just amazing. I know you'll reach 150, no problem. You'll get there. But I almost halfway.
I'll be there.
So myself, and then this is Rabina and Lisa. I met you in 2008, and I started working for the Jerry Brown campaign when he ran for a second stint as governor. And so I just, you know, like everybody said, no task is too big for you, Bobby. You were always there helping the campaign with whatever they needed. I remember our trips to Fry's Electronics, working on all of the IT and you know, equipment stuff for Jerry Brown and his campaign throughout the years. And you know, that time was just amazing. You really don't know Bobby unless you've seen his interaction with Rubina over the years. She is the closest thing to his biological sister in terms of their arguing. It's a work of art. So. But again, happy birthday. We love you. So thank you very much.
And I just want to say that Lisa. So I've known Bobby since 2002 when Jerry Brown was running for the re-election Oakland mayor campaign. But I know Bobby worked on his. You started when he was running for president. You were in the San Francisco Pacific Heights. You were there, and then when he was the California Party chair, Bobby, you installed the first computer for the Democratic Party as their headquarters. and
I
then
donated my time and I built the computer.
Yes.
And the databases.
yeah, Jerry Brown owes him a huge debt. Bobby's donated many free hours. Over the years I saw for the mayoral campaign, then the Attorney General campaign, and both this is the second set of Jerry Brown's 2 campaigns, which was 2010 and 2014. And whenever we needed him, Bobby was always there. He would spend the whole night troubleshooting. And personally, for my mother, he saved her life. She had some gut problem, and Bobby did everything he could. And he suggested all kinds of medical, probiotics that Rotaroid or whatever. And I remember it was like, so thank you, Bobby, for everything you've done for us.
He saved her life.
Yeah.
My mother's life.
She had C. diff, right?
Yes, C. diff, and then it was just horrible. They would prescribe this $1,000 vancomycin, some antibiotic. The problem would be controlled as soon as she would stop taking the medicine again. So then she took that probiotic, the Rotaroid. And so thank you, Bobby.
There's thousands of others. Who knows? Who just knows? Okay. Anybody else?
Do you guys want to say anything to Bobby?
Hi, Michael. All right. Let's.
Are you hearing?
Yeah.
Are we connected? Wow, what a walk down memory lane from Cyber Lab 7. Oh yeah, we were there. Talk about some parties. Oh my God. And then 3220. That was fun. Your citizen diplomacy. Oh, who was it that did all that fiber optic work at the Craneway? Oh, that was Bobby. Wow. I mean, that was a magnum opus right there. Always in the background. I think he's just as happy being in the background, making sure everything's working. In fact, I've never met anyone so willing to do what it took, whatever it takes, to just make it work. And so I am so grateful to have known you. And it's been forever. It actually feels forever, my friend. And I'm loving seeing all these people here who feel the same way. It's really quite the walk down memory lane. So thank you for beaming this out for us here and other parts of the country. And we love Bobby.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. I can't thank you enough. And I don't know, all those years of helping other people. It's like I feel really good today. Thank you. I'm just grateful that when I was in the Bardo, I knew that I had to pick my parents, and I just knew this was the right way to go. So, anyway.
You're appreciated.
Thank you.
Well, your other choice was a Mormon family.
That's right.
Good choice, good choice.
We have to thank Human.
Yes.
Human.
Yes.
Human, come out here.
What an amazing
Human, come on out here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, the Data Academy.
That's right.
And thank you for the press.
Give this man an Oscar.
And everybody out there.
Single link.
شباشیان شب زده چکاوک شکست پر رسیدم به ناکجا مرا به خانم ببر.
It's your set now.
No, Thank you again. Thank you everybody for having me, Bobby, and thank you again. Yeah, there's still cake. I'm still gonna get a little cake. I gotta talk to.
There's still cake.
Yes. Have a little nibble of the cake. Somebody ate special.
All right.
Yes. Thank you, Bobby. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.